Meerdink News Radio 620 WTMJ.
Good afternoon, Wisconsin. Welcome back to the show. Jeff Wagner, 620 WTMJ. Let me call your attention to our website, 620WTMJ.com. Got some of the background on what we're going to talk about next. The Jeff Wagner Show page. I call the piece, "It's Been a Lovely Cruise." Now, anybody who grew up around here over the past 50 years at least, has probably at one time or another cruised down Highway 100 in West Dallas. My producer, Hondo, admits that he has, in fact, done that. Officials in West Dallas over the last couple of years have become increasingly alarmed by this and have really tried to crack down on it. There's an ordinance, and I think it was passed last year. I've got a link to this, but listen, this is the way the ordinance in West Dallas reads. Findings and purpose. It is hereby found that a threat to the public health, safety, and welfare arises from congestion created by the repetitive, unnecessary driving of motor vehicles, also known as cruising, at certain times on certain highways within the city of West Dallas. The purpose of this ordinance is to reduce the dangerous traffic congestion, as well as the noise, the air pollution, obstruction of streets, sidewalks, and parking lots, impediment of access to shopping centers or other public buildings open to the public, interference with the use of property or conduct of business resulting from cruising, and to ensure access for emergency vehicles to and through the said highways. So, you listen to that description and you get the idea that you got heroin use, number one, and then you got cruising, number two. That's the list. Now, here's what they define as being cruising. Cruising shall mean driving a motor vehicle past a traffic control point on a highway in the designated area, like Highway 100, more than twice in any 2-hour period between the hours of 8 p.m. and 5 a.m. Let me go through that again. Cruising means driving your car past the same control point more than twice in any 2-hour period between the hours of 8 p.m. and 5 p.m. So theoretically, if at 8 o'clock at night you drive past the control point to go to the McDonald's, you then drive past it after you've gotten your McDonald's, and then 45 minutes later you want to run down to the Target, so you drive past the same point, you have violated the ordinance. Passing a designated control point a third time under the aforesaid conditions shall constitute unnecessary repetitive driving and cruising and therefore be a violation of this subsection. Penalties for the first offense start at $150 and quickly ratchet up to $600 for the third and subsequent offenses. And as was pointed out to me yesterday by West Dallas resident, they're getting even more serious. There's one West Dallas alderman who says that this year they've got the state patrol. They're bringing the state patrol in to help them enforce this ordinance. And in addition, they're going to be bringing license plate reading technology installed on squads this summer to help with this. So, we're bringing, they're not bringing in the drones, but we're bringing in the equivalent of the drones, electronic surveillance to catch cruisers. All right, I want to open up the phone lines, 414-799-1620, 800-877-1620. That's the Accunet Mortgage toll-free talk line. Is this overkill? Obviously, cruising can be a problem. There have been stories, for example, Capitol Drive. Our studios are in the corner of Humboldt and Capitol Drive. There have been stories in the past about how 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, you have, it's not so much cruising, it's actually turning Capitol Drive into a parking lot. People with the stereos cranked up, neighbors not being able to sleep, emergency vehicles not being able to get through, and, issues then with fights and people, drinking and things like that. So, obviously, it can in fact get out of control. At the same point in time, Highway 100, which, is pretty much, there are residences in the proximity to it, but, in many respects, there's businesses and stuff. Is this This is an overreaction. 414-799-1620, 800-877-1620. That's the AccuNet Mortgage toll-free talk line. TJ in Germantown. TJ, you're first. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How you doing?
I am well, thank you, sir. You have a bit of history on this, huh?
Yeah, I was the second guy to ever get a cruising ticket in West Dallas when they first instituted that. I believe it was 91.
Yeah, they've changed the ordinances over the years, but yeah, they've been cracking down on cruising. Did you deserve it? I mean, was this a problem? Is this a problem on Highway 100?
Well, I mean, the cruising strip has always changed over the years. I mean, the cruisers just kind of move from area to area.
Right.
Highway 100 has always been a big cruising area, but when they instituted that, they started enforcing it on a Saturday night.
Right.
And we all went down there just kind of, poke with the cops a little bit. But I didn't think I'd get a ticket, but boy, I was wrong.
Okay, did it stop you from cruising, or did it just move you to somewhere else?
No, we kept cruising Highway 100, and then it moved to Menominee Falls for a few months after that.
Yeah.
And then Menominee Falls brought in the Waukesha County Sheriff to help out, and then we moved to Milwaukee again.
Right. Okay. Thanks for the call. All right. 414-799-1620, 800-877-1620. That's the AccuNet Mortgage toll-free talk line. I mean, here's the central issue. This apparently, I mean, West Dallas. I mean, they're making no bones about it. You've got the ordinance. They've actually modified the ordinance now to make it easier to go after owners of the cars as well. And so they've changed it in a couple ways. They say they're bringing in the state patrol. They're going to be bringing in the electronic licensing thing. The fines are pretty darn nasty. Is this an overreaction? All right, we continue the conversation next. If you're on the line, please hold on. We're back in 2 minutes. 2:15, Jeff Wagner, 620. 2:17, Jeff Wagner, 620 WTMJ. Let's see. Just because you don't live in northern Wisconsin doesn't mean you're safe from ticks and the diseases that come with. Find out how to avoid the dangerous pests on Wisconsin's Morning News. Gene Miller, 6:21 a.m. tomorrow. Okay, this is going to be an interesting conversation. I can guarantee it. Let's talk to Michelle in Sturtevant. Michelle, you're first. Hello.
Yeah, hi there.
Hi, Michelle. Okay, you got a history with cruising Highway 100?
I did. 34 years ago, that's how I met my husband.
Okay, were you the hot blonde in the T-Bird? Is that how it worked out?
No, we were walking. He was picking us up on his car.
You got into a car with a strange guy?
No, actually, we sat at Southtown, the movie theater there.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, Southtown. That's going back. That's been gone for a ways too, huh? Okay. All right. They're really cracking down on this. Is it necessary, or is this kind of a harmless sort of summer thing?
I think it's a harmless summer thing, and especially if you're trying to go shop in those stores in that area, how can you not go back and forth a few times?
Well, yeah, and I guess part of it, too, this ordinance only kicks in from 8 p.m. till 5 a.m. I guess I'm kind of wondering, I mean, if the argument is, you're blocking access to a lot of these stores, how many of those are really open and doing business, at 10 o'clock at night, for example?
Right, true.
Yeah, I think, now obviously, if you're loitering, I get that. And see, that's the problem that they had on Capitol Drive. They had loitering. People weren't really moving. It wasn't cruising. It was that they'd park, and the streets essentially were kind of taken over, and it turned into like giant block parties. So you had loitering. You admittedly you had other issues too. You had drug use. You had open container violations. You had disorderly conduct. But you have the statutes that are out there to do that. Do you need this other crackdown? 414-799-1620. John in Milwaukee. John, you're on 620 WTMJ.
Hello.
Hi, John.
Hello.
Are you a cruiser?
I currently am, yes. I'm 23 years old. I've been doing it since I've had my license.
Okay. Why? Why do you do it? Tell me that.
Why do I do it? I do it because it's about like kind of a community thing. Where else can you go to show off your car every weekend? Where else can you hang out with friends? Because we all kind of have the same interests. So that's kind of where we go.
Okay. Have you gotten a ticket yet for doing this?
I have not yet.
Okay.
I've seen some newspaper articles printing out saying that they're running the new plate scanners,
right,
doing all that kind of stuff. I've currently not gotten a ticket. I know people that have. Kind of like one of the big issues is saying that we're packing the streets, nobody can get through.
Right.
But if you go there right now, late at night, they're doing construction, so it's down to one lane. Like,
right.
we're not causing that big of a deal. It's more, you're going on the one lane in construction at night. I mean,
well, you see, that's kind of what I was going to ask you, because I'm looking at the preamble to their ordinance there, and they say that you and your pals, John, are a threat to the public health, safety, and welfare of the community because of the repetitive, unnecessary driving. I mean, do you consider yourself a threat to the health and welfare and safety of the community?
absolutely not. I mean, that seems like a way overkill. It seems like that's what they want to perceive on the public, saying, all these guys are hard criminals. They're out there causing all kinds of noise and doing drugs and stuff like that. That's not at all. That's not it.
Well, I guess, see, that... Look, and I appreciate that there is a balancing act here, because I understand if you live in some of the neighborhoods around there that you want to be able to drive the streets. If I live in one of those neighborhoods around there and I'm coming back from dinner on Saturday night at 10 o'clock, I want to be able to cross Highway 100 and I want to get home. And similarly, if I live in a neighborhood that's reasonably close to some of these heavily cruised areas, I don't want to be awakened at 2:30 in the morning with like loud music or honking horns or things like that. But I guess the question is an ordinance like this overkill for that? Heather in West Dallas. Heather, good afternoon.
Hi.
Hi, Heather.
How's it going?
I'm fine. Are you a cruiser too?
I absolutely am. I actually know John.
Okay. All right. Okay. Are you a menace to public safety there, Heather?
Absolutely not. As soon as I heard about this ordinance going into effect last week, I actually called the police department and talked to Officer Pinther about a way to either overturn it or a way to change it. And he sent me to City Hall, and I actually talked last Friday with the Attorney General, and he gave us a couple options. He said going directly to Alderman, which I believe was Alderman Lysick, would not do anything, so just get shut down right away.
Right.
But the other option he gave me is to come up with a plan and take it to the traffic engineers and the police department and figure out a way to make it work. And my idea is that since we're not allowed to park in normal parking lots because it's considered loitering, and now we're not allowed to drive up and down the road. Right,
because you pass that designated spot more than 2 times in 2 hours, yeah.
Exactly. So my idea is to get a lot where we are actually allowed to stop and maybe have it monitored by 1-2 police officers. That way, if anyone is doing something stupid, go ahead and give them a ticket. But for people like me, who I personally go to look at the cars and to see my friends, I'm a college student. I could easily stay at school, underage drink, and do stupid stuff. Right. But I would much rather just come here and relax at night with my friends.
What about one of the arguments that the people in the Common Council make is that all the congestion and stuff causes all these problems: dangerous traffic congestion, noise, air pollution, obstruction of streets, sidewalks, parking lots, impediment of access to shopping centers, blah-de-blah, blah-de-blah. Has that been your experience when you're out there doing this?
Well, I actually work at a store that's right in the strip mall that a lot of people stop at. Right. And for the most part, people don't park right by the building that's open. We're the only building open in the strip mall. Right. And people don't even park by it. So I personally don't see it as something that scares away customers. And personally, how many people are you going to see out past 10 o'clock? Most people are...
Right, how many of those, aside from some of maybe the restaurants and stuff, how many of the businesses are really open on a Saturday night, after 8 o'clock, much less like after 10 o'clock or whatever, yeah?
That's exactly my argument, yeah.
So you're trying to work out at least a compromise or something to keep letting you do this?
Yep.
Yeah, well, good luck. Thanks for calling. Yeah, it's very clear to me that I don't think you're going to get anywhere with the alderman. My guess is you probably talk to the city attorney, not the attorney general. But you're probably. The aldermen are, I get it. They're obviously probably responsive to their constituents who live in that immediate area, who are saying, well, we don't like the noise. I'm just wondering how legitimate that claim is. Katie in Racine, you're on 620 WTMJ.
Okay, I'm a former cruiser, 42 years old.
I'm Katie. I was a I'm a recovering cruiser. Okay.
Sat in Southtown Cinema parking lot. That was a rite of passage for literally everyone I know my age who went to high school in Milwaukee and the surrounding area. It was a social thing. It was to see the cars. It was to find your friends. And with the exception of a couple burners in the parking lots, most people are going there to find out where the party was at or who was having people over, and then you'd leave eventually.
Sure.
It wasn't stay there all night. It wasn't break into buildings. It wasn't drink until you fall over. That was the time to be social, like a dance with cars. It's like a social dance with cars. And it was innocent, it was high school, it was fun. It was what memories were made of. And I just don't understand why. And I remember they started making it difficult, and you couldn't do U-turns and
Sure.
put up signs and stuff like that. It didn't stop us. But there was never any there were hardly anything open. And what was open most of the time we were frequenting, if it was a
Right.
corner convenience store or something. I think it's overkill. And I think it's missing the purpose of what that is. It really is a ritual for kids, and probably one of the more benign rituals that are still left.
Thanks for the perspective. I appreciate it. Cruisers of Milwaukee unite. Perry in Milwaukee. Perry, good afternoon.
Hey, Jeff.
Hi, Perry.
Hey, Jeff. My son cruises Highway 100 every Friday and Saturday night. They only cruise from about 10 o'clock till midnight. After midnight, when you go out there, there's hardly any cars left. They're not even near the businesses. They're way in a far lot. They always get harassed by the cops that they're going to get this ticket and get their car towed away and taken to jail for loitering. They all did it when they were young. We used to cruise Villard Avenue. Now they're out there. There ain't many problems. I mean, yeah, there's some knuckleheads spinning their tires sometimes. They're not all bad kids out there, Jeff.
So do you think this is aggressively enforcing this ordinance? Do you think it's overkill?
It's a waste of money. Yeah, it's overkill. There's other things to do in the city. They got that guy trying to grab that girl in Greenfield Park. Try to work on that, solve that case. Leave these kids alone.
Okay, thanks. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Thanks for the perspective. I got a couple thoughts on this when we come back. 227, Jeff Wagner, 620 WTMJ.
It's time to go hog wild again at
TMJ. I'm sorry, we had absolutely jammed phone lines, including a couple people who kind of called in late in the discussion who said, no, this is a big deal and we need to be aggressive and it's a dangerous situation. I've got the piece that I wrote. It's cross-posted at our 620 WTMJ Facebook page, and we are getting a ton of comments about that. So, as we say, the conversation continues. My thought, look, I understand the purpose for this. I hope authorities use some common sense in enforcing this. First of all, I have some issues with how broad the ordinance is. I mean, what are you going to do about delivery drivers? My guess is that there are delivery drivers, who will routinely, cross these checkpoints more than 2 times between 8 in the morning and 8 at night, 5 in the morning. I can also easily see how, and actually this was called to my attention by a parent who has kids who work at a couple of the places there who pick them up. And, she was saying to me, hey, if I'm picking up my kids, I'm going to be if one of my kids gets off work at 8 o'clock at night and I pick them up, drive back to my house, and another one of my kids gets off at 10:30, I drive back, or 10 o'clock, I'm going to have violated this ordinance. And, is that, I'm not cruising. I'm not even trying to do this. I understand that there's a balancing. I hope the authorities in West Dallas are able to use, if they're going to use this ordinance, I hope they're able to apply it to the people that are really causing the problems, people who are acting and driving in a knucklehead fashion, being dangerous, loitering, violating the law, as opposed to just the kids who are out there, the young people who are out there, and you heard some of them on the line, who are just kind of, it's sort of like a place to meet, and if they're not doing anything and not causing any problems, would you rather have them driving down Highway 100 or doing a lot of other things that young people could do that's a lot more destructive? Just saying. It's 2:32 here with the latest from the 620 WTMJ 24-hour news center is John Meerdink.
Thanks, Jeff. Grief Council.